What's up everybody, my name is Zach Pasquarello and I am here to teach you how to start a bookkeeping business. I always say starting a bookkeeping business is a 4-step process. You need to learn bookkeeping in QuickBooks, you need to learn marketing and sales, you need to learn how to deliver A+ customer service, and you need to work really hard. I posted a video yesterday and I talked all about marketing and sales. Today I'm going to focus on learning the fundamentals of bookkeeping. I always say bookkeeping is a 3-step process. First, you need to categorize your transactions. Second, you need to reconcile the accounts. And third, you need to deliver financial statements to your client. Those are the fundamentals of bookkeeping. But before we even get into the fundamentals of bookkeeping, I want to talk about some things that you need to consider. If you're thinking about starting a bookkeeping business, you need to consider 3 things. You need to think about what type of software are you going to use for your bookkeeping. You need to learn about statements and documentation required to do your job. And then third, you need to have a plan in place for what happens whenever you don't know an answer or what happens whenever you don't know how to do something. So first of all, if you want to schedule a consultation with me, if you want to meet and go over your bookkeeping business or bookkeeping in QuickBooks in general, there's a link in the description below. You can use that link to schedule a consultation anytime. And then if you are thinking about starting a bookkeeping business, hit the subscribe button on my channel because every single day I post a new video teaching you how to create and start a successful bookkeeping business. Okay, so let's talk about the type of software you should be using if you're starting a bookkeeping business. I recommend that you don't have a niche, but let me talk about a niche first. So some people only want to work with restaurant owners or real estate investors, and I think that's okay whenever you get further down into your business and you have more clients. But if you're just starting out and you only have 2 clients, to me it just doesn't make sense to reject a 3rd client because they're not a real estate investor, or to say no to a potential client because they're not a restaurant owner and that's your niche. If you only have 2 or 3 clients, I don't think you should have a particular industry as a niche. However, I do think that you should have a niche when it comes to the software that you work with, because this is going to enable you to be an expert. So there's a bunch of different types of bookkeeping software. There's Sage, there's Wave, and there's QuickBooks. From what I know, QuickBooks is the #1, the most popular bookkeeping software for small business owners, so it just makes sense that you should be using QuickBooks. And even more specifically, there's QuickBooks Desktop, there's QuickBooks Enterprise, there's QuickBooks Online. I would even take it a step further, and I would niche down and only work with either QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online. And I say that because this will enable you to become an expert. This will enable you to become a master with the software that you're using. And if you can master the software, the bookkeeping software, you can solve your clients' problems a lot faster. And you can work a lot more efficiently. So if you're thinking about starting a bookkeeping business, or maybe you already have one and you're struggling to find clients, you're struggling to learn bookkeeping fundamentals and the software, I would recommend focus on one particular software. For me, I work exclusively with QuickBooks Online, and I think that's what you should do too. A lot of business owners are moving away from QuickBooks Desktop and they're only working with online. In my opinion, it's infinitely easier to work with. But it doesn't matter what software you use, just pick a software, become an expert in that software. That way, whenever you're marketing to clients, you can guarantee them, hey, I am a QuickBooks Online expert, so I can solve all of your problems. That's the whole point of a business owner hiring you as their bookkeeper. Now, whenever it comes to your level of expertise, it's going to determine the pay that you can charge your customers. If you're just getting started, you're probably not going to be a bookkeeping and QuickBooks expert, so you're probably not going to be able to charge as much as somebody who has 3 to 5 years experience and they can guarantee their clients that, hey, I am a QuickBooks expert, I can solve all your problems, no questions asked, I will be able to do it all for you. So if you're just getting started out, maybe $35 to $50 an hour. Get a couple years of experience under your belt, you can tell these clients that you are a QuickBooks expert, and now you can maybe charge $60 to $80 an hour. And then I haven't even started to talk about taxes. So I don't even pretend to be a tax expert. I'm not a certified public accountant. I don't even do taxes. I focus on bookkeeping, and that's just where I am right now in my business. I've been doing it for 3 years. I'm working on my master's degree in accounting. I do want to become a CPA eventually. but I've had an incredibly successful bookkeeping business just focusing on QuickBooks and bookkeeping. I haven't even touched taxes. But if you are a tax expert, then you can charge probably $100 to $150 per hour. Learn and understand what level of expertise you can deliver your clients, and then based on your level of expertise, then you can charge your clients accordingly. Okay, so whenever it comes to software, I recommend you get a niche. Now, let's talk about statements and documentation. I'm not talking about financial statements. I'm talking about statements and documents that are required for you to do your job as a bookkeeper. And you need to understand this because this is fundamental to you doing your job successfully. You need to get statements for everything. Every single bank account, credit card account, loan account, asset that they purchase, because these statements have the answer to your questions. These statements, this is all the data that you need. And then for bookkeeping, all you're really doing is you're taking the information on these statements and then you're entering them into their bookkeeping software. That's really all bookkeeping is. So for example, if you have a bank statement with a list of 100 transactions, in order to do bookkeeping for that client, all you're really doing is taking each individual transaction from that bank statement and entering it into the QuickBooks software. Obviously, that's a very simplified explanation of the process. There's a lot more that goes into it, but I want you to have confidence knowing that if you ever have any questions about loans or assets or checking accounts or credit cards, just fall back on the statement. Reach out to your client and say, hey, I need your loan statements, I need your credit card statements, where's the bill of sale for this asset? Getting these documents and getting these statements will help you do your job. So it's really important that you effectively communicate to your clients and say, hey, I need all of these before I can even get started. Okay, so here's a specific example. So let's say probably one of the most difficult things you're going to do early on in your bookkeeping career is dealing with assets and liabilities. So let's say, for example, your client just bought a truck and you see in their checking account they have a $10,000 wire transfer leaving their checking account, and you're wondering, what do I do with this $10,000 transaction? Is it an expense? Is it an asset? Is it a liability? I have no idea what to do. So all you need to do is just ask your client, say, hey, what is this $10,000 wire transfer? They're going to say, oh yeah, I bought a truck last month. You're going to say, okay, great. I need two things. I need the bill of sale for the truck and I need the loan origination document. Getting these two documents will enable you to do your journal entry so that you can properly transcribe the information from the statements into the bookkeeping software. So once you get the bill of sale, you'll know the purchase price of the asset. Once you get the loan origination document, you'll know the outstanding principal on the loan, and then you can do a journal entry. You can create the asset, you can create the liability, and it just makes everything so much more simple without having to do all this guesswork. You're stressing yourself out. You're wondering, what do I do with this $10,000 wire transfer? How do I account for this? All of your questions will be answered by requesting the bill of sale and the loan origination document. And if you have checking accounts, credit cards, same concept. Just request the statements and then most of your questions will be answered. Okay, finally, let's talk about what do you do if you don't know the answer to a question. This happens to me all the time. This happens to everybody all the time. You are not alone if you are confused or struggling or frustrated or are not able to come up with the answer. Don't worry, you're not expected to know all of the answers all the time. This is why I recommend you should partner with a CPA if you can. What you can offer the CPA is tax clients, and what the CPA can offer you is consultations, advice, recommendations, help on occasion. Obviously, don't bother the CPA every single day with meaningless questions, but if you do have a particular tax question, then it's not a bad idea to have a friendly CPA who you can work with and who you can partner with and share ideas and get some help with on occasion. And then you're going to pay that person back by referring all of your bookkeeping clients to them to do their taxes. And in return, they'll help you learn about taxes. So partner with a CPA and they'll be able to help answer most of your difficult tax questions, and never be afraid to tell your client, hey, I don't want to lead you in the wrong direction. That's a pretty complex tax question. I'm actually going to refer you to my CPA and he or she can answer these questions for you. Never be afraid to say that. That will help your client trust you and know that you're not going to give them misinformation. Never lie to your client, never make up answers. Don't be afraid to admit that you don't know something, and then either you'll research it and get back to them or just refer them off to the CPA. So you are going to be working remotely, so you can research anything. You can reach out to me, you can join Facebook groups that help other bookkeepers, you can do research on the internet. If you ever have an issue, don't panic, don't freak out, just do some research on your own. And then in the end, it all comes down to integrity and being honest. So if you genuinely are stuck, you genuinely have no idea what to do, and you've exhausted all options trying to answer the question on your own, now it might be time to reach out to the client and just be honest with them. Say, hey, I'm having this issue. I don't really know what to do. Can you help me kind of understand what's going on with these transactions that I'm confused about?